Hi guys and welcome to Awesome Premier League. Let's take a look at the new match day. We have the Merseyside Derby, we also have East London Derby, West Ham Tottenham, and we are going to analyze everything with Tom Rennie. But I also want to know your opinion, so let me know what you think about the games in the comment section, and you will have the chance to win a £10 free bet with Novibet. Also remember, click on the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get all the notifications. And now let's go on with the show. So we have the 25th match day of the Premier League and we have some very good games, including the Merseyside Derby, and we are going to analyze everything with Tom Rennie. Hello Tom, welcome.
Hello. Great to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us in Oddspedia channel. So let's see what you can tell us about the games. Which tips can you give us? And the first game we have on Friday is Wolves Leeds, two teams that usually are kind of hard to predict. They are in the middle of the table. I guess they are not even looking for European positions or for relegation. But in the last match day, Wolves were able to beat Southampton after their defeat against the Saints in the FA Cup, whereas Leeds lost against Arsenal. They are terrible actually whenever they travel to London. So here the odds slightly favored Wolves in this game.
I got to say, I don't agree with that. I wouldn't make Wolves favourites in this game, in any game at the moment, because they just haven't been able to make it work without Raul Jimenez. It's been a long time now since his injury against Arsenal, and it doesn't work. Willian Jose doesn't quite work. Fabio Silva doesn't quite work. We get less out of Adama Traore without Raul Jimenez and without Jota as well. I think that's gone kind of undiscussed a bit. They lost their best two attacking talents in the summer and indeed later in the season with Raul Jimenez and haven't been able to replace them. And do you know what? I watched the game on Sunday between Southampton and Wolves. I watched the FA Cup game in the week as well. And for 3 of the 4 halves of football across the 2 games, Wolves were terrible. They were awful. The passing wasn't there. There was no design to attack. And then there was just a stunning 20 minutes from Pedro Neto, which decided things against Southampton, who I think if that was in the Cup, Southampton would have won. In the league, there's some sort of weird psychosis going on with Southampton at the minute. 6 straight defeats for the first time in their history in the league. So I don't see Wolves right now as a coherent side. You said it there. They're just trying to stumble towards the end of this season. I was chatting to a couple of Wolves friends a few days ago who are just counting down the games. They are desperate for this season to finish, desperate for some reinvestment. And I think the manager, Nuno Espirito Santo, would agree with that as well. As for Leeds, you're right, they don't do it in London. It is a bit weird, but they do it away from home. They've put in some brilliant performances on the road this season. And I think if the Arsenal game ran on for another 10, 15 minutes on Sunday, I think they would have drawn against Arsenal because they just decided, well, should we start scoring then? Having in the first 45 minutes not turned up at all against Arsenal. And to be fair, there's no way they could have planned for Aubameyang being good again because he's been useless for months on end. So I would quite fancy Leeds here. I think Rafinha has been fantastic. Patrick Bamford is a real threat. I don't know whether Calvin Phillips will be back in midfield. If he is, that will give them the balance they missed in the opening 45 minutes against Arsenal on Sunday. So absolutely wouldn't make Wolves favourites. You can get Leeds for about 3-1, and I think that's quite a tasty bet, actually.
Okay, then let's go for Leeds 3.0 to win. Actually, they won away recently against Newcastle and Leicester, so they are not a bad team on the road. Then on Saturday, we have Southampton, Chelsea. Actually, Chelsea, they are playing tonight against Newcastle, and then they are playing against Atletico de Madrid the following week in the Champions League. So probably we will see what is the Tuchel effect, but they are better. They are way better for sure. And you just said it, how Southampton's awful form with these 6 straight defeats in the Premier League made them really difficult to trust on this game, I guess.
Yeah, I think Southampton have just burned out. I think they found a way to play with a really strong first 11, and they should absolutely be commended for that because I think Ralph Hasenhuttl was scratching around for it for a long, long time. 2 or 3 absences for Southampton, and you could see as the Christmas period, January period, early February period, games went on, they started to struggle. Bednarek's come back and he's not been as good. Vestergaard started to come back, but isn't quite at his best form. Danny Ings is in, then he's out. That's the trouble with Danny Ings. If he could stay fit for 35 games this season, he'd still be at Liverpool, but he can't, which is why he's at Southampton. A spectacular goal against Wolverhampton Wanderers in the league, but there's a doubt about him for this one, as there will be every week with Danny Ings, which is why he's never, I don't think, a particularly good bet in advance for first goal scorer. On the day, 5 minutes before kickoff, I'd be backing him first goal scorer every week. An hour beforehand, a couple of days beforehand, I wouldn't touch Danny Ings because you just don't know when he's going to break down again. But they are a good side, Southampton. I wouldn't fancy him here against Chelsea because I think Thomas Tuchel has made some real improvements to Chelsea, mainly in the fact he has some tactics, you know, as opposed to Frank Lampard, who I don't really think knew how to change things in games. He certainly changed formation a lot, and he certainly changed personnel a lot. But did they really change the way they were playing in games? I don't think they did. And I think there has been a new manager bounce, a professionalisation of Chelsea that maybe comes from everyone suddenly bucking their ideas up, playing for their futures. And as you say, we're talking before Chelsea's game on Monday, but in the games leading up to that, I think they've gradually improved. Even against Barnsley in the Cup, it wasn't a great performance, but he tried a few things out. I think we got a good few minutes from Tammy Abraham, certainly. I think he's played his way into Thomas Tuchel's first team plans. I think he wants to make Werner happen as a centre forward. It ain't going to happen, guys. Tammy Abraham is the person I would be backing as their central striker in this game and in the coming weeks as well. I think Southampton here will be solid. I think they'll be competitive, but I think they'll lose. I think Chelsea... You know, you've probably said this a lot this season. Everyone said it a lot this season. Look at the attacking talents of Chelsea. Surely they've got to win this by a lot. I don't think it'll be a lot, but I do think they'll win.
Okay, we have odds 1.83 for Chelsea to win against the Saints. Then on Saturday, we have Burnley, West Brom here at Turf Moor. I guess we should expect a home victory. And actually, the odds are not bad for Burnley, odds 2.05 right now, and they were able to beat Crystal Palace, to thrash Crystal Palace. I was shocked seeing this result after the knocked out from the FA Cup. Burnley lost against Bournemouth, and West Brom, they got a point against Man United. I think no one expected that, but still, they are going straight away to the Championship.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect this to be a straight home win. I wouldn't expect it to be particularly entertaining. If you are the kind of person like me who watches all 10 unique time slots in the Premier League at the weekend, maybe take this one off. Like, go walk the dog or something, I would suggest. I would say 0-0 has got to be my favourite scoreline for this one. I was somewhat staggered, as you were, that Burnley scored 3 against Crystal Palace. That was more than they'd scored in their 10 previous away games combined. They are not regular goal scorers. They're not the most creative side, and their most creative players, Dwight McNeil and Goodmanson, haven't been in the best of form or fit enough to play this season. You know what Burnley are going to do. It'll be 4-4-2, depending on who's fit enough to play. You would hope it'd be Wood and Barnes, but Jay Rodriguez may have played his way into the side with his recent performances. We will see who's fit enough. It's often the question of that for Burnley. And then if the other 3 are out, Vidra gets a game. But there's 3 into 2, I would say, for Burnley. Good to see Jack Cork back as well. Such an important player for Burnley. Missing for so much of this season. Easing his way back into it. But him and Westwood are their premier central midfield too. Josh Brownhill's done well. But I think Cork and Westwood make Burnley tick. So if they can get back together again in midfield, they'll start picking up more points. As for West Bromwich Albion, you can see the Allardyce turn now. Every time he comes into a club, he's done it so many times. It does take a lot of games. It's not, you know, I think that the pundits always say, well, Allardyce is in now, and so they'll stop conceding goals. It never works like that. Go back to his time taking the clubs over. It normally takes 10 or 12 games, and it's often a little bit too long, you think, and then suddenly he turns Sunderland around, he turns Palace around. You know, he's done it over and over again. It does take time. I think you saw that against Manchester United, that they've just started to make it work defensively. I think you saw it in stages in the game against Tottenham Hotspur. You saw it a little bit against Sheffield United as well. You couple that with Diane up front, who could have scored a hat-trick against Manchester United. I would say that they look quite dangerous here, West Brom. I think they're far too far behind to stay in the Premier League. It would take an incredible collapse from basically Newcastle for anyone to stay up in the Premier League that's not already in the bottom 3. But I quite like what Allardyce is doing at West Brom. I mean, my goodness, I wouldn't pay to watch it. But I like what he's doing. And I think they can go to Burnley and get a draw. So 0-0, 1-1. That's what I'd be looking at. If West Brom are to score, I would look at Diagne because I think he looks like a real find. Another brilliant, exciting-looking Senegalese talent to add to a cavalcade of them we had in the Premier League over the last 15 years or so.
All right, we have odds for the draw 3.54, and even if you think there's gonna be no goals or very low scoreboard, we have under 2 goals, 2.36. That's another option. Then we have the best game probably of the weekend, the Merseyside derby, Liverpool-Everton. Checking the odds, Liverpool is huge favorite, but if we see the recent results, I'm quite skeptical actually. We know that they lost against Leicester City during the weekend, making 3 straight defeats, and what is more difficult, I would say they are playing Champions League in the middle of the week against Leipzig, so this is the game of the games. And Everton, I think also we were very surprised in them losing at home against Fulham after their amazing performance in the FA Cup. Probably they were a little bit tired, so I don't know if you
generous. Very generous, a little bit tired. Come on, are you Ancelotti? We can't allow that, can we? A bit tired.
I really love it.
I know you do.
Then,
I think from the weekend, I mean, absolutely, Merseyside derby is always great. Again, another one of those times where we could say what a shame it is to have no fans, and the atmosphere is always brilliant, all that. But I think that's kind of taken as read these days. I think last weekend, it's a toss-up between who put in the worst performance. Liverpool at Leicester in the last 15 minutes or Everton against Fulham for 90 minutes. I was doing the commentary of the Everton game against Fulham. Fulham were great, and we do get dragged into that kind of criticise the team that have lost and don't praise the team that have won. We all do that, especially when it's a big team losing at home against a team going down and all that. But Everton were genuinely awful, like really atrocious performance. No Calvert-Lewin for that one, which is a massive, massive loss, because when they try and play from deep, Everton, when it doesn't work, they can go, right, well, this isn't working. Should we go up to Richarlison, knock it down to Richarlison from Calvert-Lewin? They didn't have that ball on. Richarlison cannot do that. And they did not have that out ball. It didn't work at all. Nothing they tried, if they even tried, against Fulham came off. So I'd expect massive improvement in midweek and the weekend from them. For Liverpool, I actually thought they were very, very good for 70 minutes against Leicester. They dominated the ball in the second half up until the moment Mo Salah scored. Brilliant goal, the Firmino into Salah set up and goal. But you can see how fragile they are. And it's funny, listening to Jose Mourinho in recent weeks, the Tottenham manager, he's been talking about individual mistakes costing his side. And he says, it's not my coaching, essentially. Don't worry about what I'm doing. It's the players. They're not delivering for me. What can I do? And, you know, to a point we all go, Mourinho doing his nonsense again, blaming other people. But I think he's right. And Jurgen Klopp, he's not exactly the same kind of moaner, whinger like Mourinho is. He will whinge a bit, and it's getting worse and worse. 3 consecutive defeats will do that to anybody. But I think that individual errors you can't legislate for. How good has Alisson been for 2 years? The goal that Jamie Vardy scored, I mean, if that was Quivan Kelleher or Adrian, he'd have been bombed out, wouldn't he? They'd have got rid of him. They'd have been like, who is this kid? We can't play Adrian again. Adrian would have been crucified for that. Ozan Kabak looked like someone who'd never played in the Premier League before. That's what he looks like. That's what he plays like. Jordan Henderson's been good at centre-half in games where Liverpool have had the ball. Southampton away, I thought he was terrible. Leicester away, I thought he was terrible. He's not a centre-half. You know, that's not a great revelation that he's not a good centre-half. But I think if Everton are to have a lot of the ball here, they can test the Liverpool back line, which will be weak, whatever they put out. But from what I've seen of Everton in recent times, I wouldn't be convinced that's what we're going to get. Much better away than they are at home. I think just 14 points picked up at home this season for Everton is the 3rd lowest percentage rating in the Premier League for home to away points. So they're better away than at home. Isn't everybody to a degree, but Everton don't win the Merseyside derby at Anfield. It doesn't happen. It ain't going to happen. And I'd be confident of a tight Liverpool victory.
Okay, then let's back the Reds there. Mourinho blaming someone else. That's a new thing for Mourinho. I think we haven't seen it in our history. I'm surprised you were talking before a lot about Fulham and their great performance against the Toffees, and now they face Sheffield United at home. You said also before, like the 3 teams that are now in the bottom 3, probably they will go straight away to the championship. But this is the game of the games, probably for Fulham, if they get back-to-back victories. against the bottom team of the table. Maybe they can still dream for salvation. And we still have to see Sheffield United playing tonight against West Ham. But here the odds are quite all right for a Fulham victory, actually 2.3. And the thing is that is going all right in the last few weeks. Both teams, I would say, they've improved a lot.
Yeah, I think with Fulham, going into the Everton game at the weekend, they'd had 12 games without a win, but 8 draws. And that's just mind-blowing, really, when you consider those numbers. And some of the performances, they should have won against Brighton. There was that great last-minute Lewis Dunk clearance to get them something in that one. They should have beaten West Bromwich Albion. They were significantly better than Albion. The Hawthorns didn't win. I thought they outplayed West Ham for 90 minutes, and Mitrovic missed a late chance, and they missed several late chances, in fact, against West Ham. Should have won. So it was great to see them convert a performance into a win, which has been coming for a long, long time. I still think they've left it a little bit late, as I said earlier on, because it would take a Newcastle crumble. Look, we've seen a Newcastle crumble before, and we've seen a Fulham great escape. You know, it can happen. It does happen. But I still think Newcastle will just about limp over the line. But look, if you go on a winning run, you know, West Ham a few years ago, 7 wins in 9. Fulham did it under Roy Hodgson, win, and got themselves, I think it was 4 wins to end the season to stay up that year. So it can be done. It doesn't always happen, but if I was looking at one of the 3 right now to do it, it would be Fulham if they can keep playing as they did at Goodison. I like the look of Josh Maja. I liked him when he came through at Sunderland as a young player. David Moyes played him in the Premier League, and he got some games down in the Championship as well before going off to Bordeaux. Wasn't prolific at Bordeaux, but you could see the growth in the player. He looks physically more strong, and they were stiff as goals. You know, we talked about Diani earlier at West Bromwich Albion. Josh Maja's offered that as well. He's the kind of guy, from what I've seen on Sunday, that can be in the right place at the right time for Fulham. You don't necessarily need someone to do all the build-up play, do all the Antonio work, you know, do all the be everything to all men. They've got 10 players who can do that for you. Just put someone out there who can put that ball in the net. That's the most important, the most crucial thing when you're down there. And they've got that now, I think, in Josh Maja, and I hope he plays. I know Mitrovic had a positive COVID test, so that's why he wasn't there. But I don't think Mitrovic, I've never felt he's a Premier League player. He doesn't have the fitness, the physicality to play in that division. He lives in what I like to think of as the Darren Huckabee vortex. You might not get that reference, but Darren Huckabee played in the Premier League with Dion Dublin like 99, that sort of era. He wasn't good enough for the Premier League, but he was far too good for the Championship. And there's a whole raft of players that live in that Huckabee vortex. I think Mitrovic is one of them. And I think Josh Maja has already become their starting striker. And I think that they've got a real chance of staying up if they beat Sheffield United. But again, it would be the Newcastle crumble. As for the Blades, it's incredible they're still here. Incredible they're still here. And they have been in good form since the turn of 2021. Wins in the Cup inspired wins in the league. They never get thrashed, but they often lose narrow because, quite simply, they're very well coached, they're very well trained, but they've got a League One squad. You know, Didsey, McGoldrick, God bless him, not a Premier League player. Billy Sharp at 34, not a Premier League player. The midfield trio I like, but look, they are a Championship winning midfield in Fleck and Lundstrom and Norwood. They are not a Premier League midfield. They were great last year. Good run of form right now, back together again. John Lundstrom's had his contract hissy fit, and that seems to have passed, and they've gotten back together again. But I think the defence isn't strong enough. I don't rate the goalkeeper. I don't see the strikers being good enough. And I think Fulham, I don't want to say Fulham win. I'm not brave enough. But I will say, go on, Fulham. Fulham are going to win this. And if you're looking for a goal scorer anytime, Josh Maja will be my man.
Okay, odds 2.3 for Fulham's victory. Then on Sunday, we have East London Derby, West Ham, Tottenham. West Ham, again, they are playing tonight against Sheffield United, but they are in European positions. They are quite good this season. Even they can go into the top 4 if the results are good in this week. Whereas the Spurs, you say Mourinho complaining about everything, about the weather probably, and they lost again against Man City after the defeat in the FA Cup. Last 6 games, 5 defeats. So he has to put a lot of excuses, but his Spurs are not working.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with West Ham because I think they have been very, very good this season. There's very few games where they've underperformed. I think the last 2, Man United in the Cup and Fulham in the league, are 2 of those occasions where they have underperformed. it doesn't work without Mikel Antonio. It simply doesn't work. We mentioned Danny Ings earlier. And for Southampton, you just don't know whether he's going to be fit until 5 minutes before kickoff. And that's the same with Mikel Antonio. With him up front, they've got someone who can hold it up. They've got someone who can bully the opposition. He's a goal threat. And they're so worried about him often, the opposition, that they kind of forget that Jarrod Bowen's a good finisher. Saïd Benrahma's incredibly dangerous. Jesse Lingard could score goals, as he showed against Aston Villa. So if West Ham can get something like their best 11 together, I think I would make them favourites to win here. Noah Bonner would be a massive, massive blow. He has been incredible for West Ham for 18 months or so. A recall back into the Italian squad. He has been so good for West Ham. It's not often, I'm sure, that the management of the Italian national side have been watching many West Ham games in the last 20 years or so. But quite rightly, he got back in the squad, which I think is a great commendation for his performances. Without him, I don't think there's another Leeds central defender, so hopefully he'll be back for this one. And I think in midfield, in Thomas Souček and Declan Rice, rice and potato salad, as West Ham fans like to call them, I think that they've got one of the best balanced central midfields in the country. And so I make them a very, very good side right now if the first 11 is there. As for Tottenham, lost 3 of their last 5 Premier League games. I was covering the Man City game on Saturday. And look, it's Man City away. Fair enough. You take that into account. But it was pitiful. It was a pitiful, pitiful showing. They have only one tactic. You know the tactic. Everyone watching this knows the tactic. We'll sit very, very deep. When we win it back, it's quickly up to Kane. He'll try and find Bergwijn or Son, and then we'll try and create something from there while the opposition sprint back. There's no second tactic. There's no second idea. They haven't tried anything else. And I expect them to do that against West Ham as well. But David Moyes is a canny operator. I think they will sit deep as well. It's a shame again, like the Merseyside derby. This is West Ham's biggest derby of the year. It's not Tottenham's. You hate upwards. That's how rivalries work. And West Ham hate Tottenham. Tottenham hate Arsenal when it goes up and up and up. West Ham desperately want to win this game. Supporters desperately want to win this game. And often, this game involves a magnificent performance from Manuel Lanzini. Throughout history, scored the winning goal against them at London Stadium under Slaven Bilic a few years ago. Scored that incredible equaliser earlier this year in a 3-3 draw when West Ham were 3-0 down in the 80th minute. Lanzini's not been a regular starter. Sadly for him, injuries have plagued him. But if I was looking for an anytime goal scorer, maybe a winning goal scorer here, Manuel Lanzini usually is the man that steps up to the plate. I think a draw is most likely, but if I was going to favour anyone, I'd go for the Moyes and the Hammers for a tight, narrow win.
All right, then we have, let's go to Villa Park. Aston Villa, Leicester City, a team that is performing really well this season for sure, are the Foxers third in the standing, beat Liverpool. Vardy scoring again, 12 goals this season so far. They played in the Europa League in the middle of the week against Slavia Prague. And Aston Villa, they drew against Brighton. I think it's one of these teams that the rest of the season, they won't look at Europe. They won't have any trouble. So, as we know how strong are Leicester City on the road, do you fancy Foxes winning here?
Yes, I do fancy Leicester, actually. Again, it depends on the fitness of Jamie Vardy. I think that when he is in the side, there is a real threat about them. I'm really interested, in fact, over the next year or so. They've been looking for a replacement for Vardy for a long, long time, understandably, because of his age and his fitness issues this season. I'd be really interested to see if Brendan Rodgers was interested in changing Harvey Barnes from attacking wide player to central striker. The way he finished that third against Liverpool at the weekend just gone, that was Jamie Vardy. They've got the same square head, the same haircut, and they finish in the same way. So I'd be really interested if Vardy gets injured or can't play, if they can develop Harvey Barnes into a striker. 12 goals in all competitions is an incredible return for Harvey Barnes this season. I think James Justin is a massive, massive loss. It upset the balance of their defence. You could see it against Liverpool this weekend. I don't think Amati should play again at right back, so I'd be looking for some different solutions there if I was Brendan Rodgers. But I think they have a lot to offer Leicester. They can dominate the ball with players like Tielemans and players like Mark Albright, who I think is massively underrated and has been for years and years and years. James Maddison as well. But they can also hit you on the break. So they've got the kind of twin threat. They have a second style of play, unlike, say, Tottenham. Aston Villa, a bit like West Ham, they've got a really strong first team. There's no depth. There's no depth at all. If you're 2 or 3 players out, there's nothing in the locker for Aston Villa. But if you get a strong performance from Jack Grealish, if you get a fit Ross Barkley like we got when he first came in and when they won at Leicester earlier in the season with Barkley's late winner, if you can get him back to some sort of form of fitness, if you can get Ollie Watkins continuing to fire, he scored some good goals in recent weeks, Ollie Watkins, back to form and looks the threat that kind of many of us thought he would be when he came in from Brentford in the summer. I think they have a real chance. Defensively strong as well. I think Emi Martinez is up there with Kyle Darlow of Newcastle, the best two keepers in the league this year for me. Some brilliant saves at the weekend just gone in the draw against Brighton. I would still fancy Leicester because I think they have the superior goal threat. But if Aston Villa are on their game, I think it would be very tough for anybody to stop them. But the sketchy form at the moment makes me favour Leicester just about. All
right, odds 2.46 for Leicester to win at Villa Park. Then we go to the Emirates. Arsenal, Man City. Arsenal, they bounce back, beating Leeds with the hat-trick of Aubameyang after 3 winless games. But they are not an amazing team, that's for sure. And what to say about Man City? They are unstoppable. Right now, they have to face Everton in the middle of the week as well. And it looks like everything is working for Guardiola's men. The odds are actually not bad. Tom, if you think Manchester City can thrash Arsenal, probably with a nation handicap, the odds are not that bad actually to back an easy victory for the citizens.
Yeah, I mean, I do see it as an easy victory for Man City. I think they're significantly better than everybody. And I've been saying since maybe October time, even when they were down in 10th, I always felt like Man City were going to win the league. It's always been a discussion for me as to whether Man City would win it close or whether they'd win it by 10, 15 points. I think it'll be 10, 15 points when we get towards the end of it. It'll only be the schedule and injuries that disrupt what is going to be a bit of a procession, I think, in the end, sadly, for Manchester City. How fit is Gundogan? What form he's been in 2021? You know, his late runs into the box, which have really come not only from his improvement in performance and more daring runs, but also from Gabriel Jesus coming back in and creating that space. When they played false 9, City, I think that the back line are happy to let players float. When there is Jesus, I do think the centre-halves are a bit like, well, he is the striker. He does wear 9. Should we follow him? And when they follow him, the spaces open up, and Gundogan's exploited them brilliantly in recent weeks. You know, his third goal against Tottenham Hotspur, when he sent Davinson Sanchez to the land of the ghosts, you know, that was an incredible finish. Great ball from Ederson as well to find him. Look, I think that Man City will win. They're significantly better in squad depth, defensively very strong, offensively dangerous, doing it without De Bruyne and De Gea as well, which is incredibly impressive. With Arsenal, I just think they're a mid-table team. You know, I always think this about Arsenal. I've thought this for years, is that take off the badge, take away the history and put them in Brighton kits, that team. Is it very good? Is it a good squad? No, I don't think so. I think you've got Aubameyang, who's looked poor this season. Good to see him scoring again. But he's looked poor this season. Remains to be seen whether it will be a long-time recovery or it will be a kind of remember what it was like, and then we don't see him again, like what happened to Torres and many other strikers, you know, over the years in the Premier League. There's just a moment where it goes. Michael Owen, another example. But apart from that, there's not a great deal of depth in that squad. I don't think a great deal of talent. I don't think that there's much beyond top 8, I would describe the squad. Defence is poor. The goalkeeper, I think they sold the wrong one. Martinez significantly better than Leno for my money. Saka I like. If they can get good performances from Saka and Aubameyang, a chance of scoring a goal. But defensively, if they have David Luiz and Rob Holding and Cedric at the back against Man City, it's good night nurse for me. 4-0, 5-0, why not?
The Asian handicap -1 only for Man City pays 1.97. So this is a very conservative bet actually, and we get our money back if Man City only wins for 1 goal. But as you said, probably they will win for more goals. Then at Old Trafford, we have Man United, Newcastle for sure. There is no title race anymore after the last games of Man United dropping points. The last one against West Bromwich Albion, but I guess they should beat Newcastle at home. You were mentioning Newcastle a lot in the video, saying that might be the team to go down if they continue losing. They play tonight against Chelsea. They beat Southampton, so they get some good results. But I guess, no, we should trust Man United here.
Oh, we should trust Man United. Are you sure? You want to stick by that? I wouldn't trust them. I would never trust Man United. I think they're one of the worst teams to bet on in the country, because just when you think, you know, you never get them for first goal, because they always concede the first goal, certainly in away games. You never get them to win when you expect them to win. They pull off great wins when you least expect it. You know, everyone's gone, Bruno Fernandes is going to score. Then suddenly he doesn't. They're going to get a penalty. Then they don't. You finally stop putting the anytime penalty on and they get one. You know, it's a nightmare. I would avoid Man United putting my hard-earned on them like the plague. I would make them favourites. Of course I would make them favourites to beat a Newcastle United side. Shauna, Fabian Schär, potentially no Lascelles. Callum Wilson we know is out for weeks on end. We still haven't got a fully fit Alan Saul-Maximin, who I think is the closest thing to rephrase. I think he's the best talent outside the top six. Let's put it that way, Saul-Maximin. I think he's fantastic, but he's been struggling with recovering from COVID all season. So how fit is he? I don't know. Will he get let off the leash by Steve Bruce? Certainly not at Old Trafford. I still would say Newcastle are going to stay up. I know I've said that too few times. I still think they will make it, but I think they'll probably stay up by 3-5 points, not the 10 it is, or as it was before Fulham's victory over Everton, down to 7 now, which is still a massive gap. But who's going to score for them? I don't know. I think Carl Darlow has been fantastic this season. He'll have to work hard here, but it all comes down to Man United. Do we get a Man United side who are out of the blocks quickly, who are here to get the job done, who are here to score a few goals? Do we get a great performance from Marcus Rashford? Do we get Cavani coming on for the last 30 like he should, as opposed to starting him and wasting Cavani for an hour running around at 34? He's got no legs for it. He hasn't got the fitness for it. Stop doing it. Put on a workhorse. They shouldn't have let Ighalo go. Might as well let Ighalo run about for an hour and then bring Cavani on to win it. There's no point flogging Cavani for an hour. He's proven to us repeatedly as a sub, as a finisher, as they would call him in rugby. Brilliant. From the start, useless. He hasn't got the legs. There's a reason Paris Saint-Germain don't want him, and it's that. Use your eyes. You don't need data scientists for this. Look at him. He looks knackered. So I think that'll be interesting to see if Cavani starts and if they can get the best out of him. I think the fact they haven't got another striker is the reason why he keeps on playing. And Martial's not a centre forward. He might have the number 9 on his shirt, but he's certainly not a number 9. And West Brom, I thought, shut down Bruno Fernandes. Brilliant. At the Hawthorns of the weekend. Yes, he scored that one goal, but he didn't have a massive impact across the 90 minutes. But I don't think Newcastle are going to have the ability to do that. Again, they're all quite tight this weekend, apart from City. I'm going tight all the way through. I think Man United will win, but I'd be looking for both teams to score in this one. Narrow 2-1, that kind of score.
Okay, then last game, Monday, Brighton, Crystal Palace. You are ruling out these two teams to have problems to stay in the Premier League. Brighton, they are doing brilliantly, actually, in the last games. Last 8 games, only 1 defeat against Leicester City, and Crystal Palace is kind of a roller coaster team. Really difficult to predict. Because of that, probably we see how the odds are really low for Brighton's victory.
Yeah, I think that there's a kind of lazy stereotype about Graham Potter. It's like, oh, he always sticks to his principles. He's one of those managers. He won't change. Well, that's people who have not watched them, because they have changed, actually. He's made them a lot more solid. They're a lot less daring. You don't tend to get both fullbacks bombing on now, both wing-backs. One will stay, one will go, often leaving 4 or 5 back defensively. They still will push 5 or 6 forward when they can, but they don't commit everybody. I think you've got more defensive engagement from Lewis Dunk, from Adam Webster, from Ben White, from Dan Burn when he's played. They are putting tackles in now. They are getting tighter. They are more competitive than they were maybe 7 or 8 weeks ago. And so the defensive side of things is now the most important thing for Brighton, not can we make this look pretty? And I think the manager, Graham Potter, should get praise for that, because he has changed things. You know, it's not just about changing formation when managers change things. They change the way they press, the way they defend. The mentality of this team has changed. And it's also helped as well that Yves Bissouma, I think, has come into a rich vein of form. I think he's a tremendous talent in the central midfield. Solly March, massive loss for them because he provides that balance. The hope is Tariq Lamptey will be coming back either this Monday or in the next couple of weeks. That will redress that balance again, left and right. I imagine Burn left and Lamptey right if they can. Though March will be a massive loss. I think he's been fantastic this season. As for Crystal Palace, a bit like Wolves, their fans are just looking at their watches, looking at the calendar. Is it over yet? How many games? Okay, another game then, you know. No. It's just the manager's contract runs out, half the team, their contracts are running out. They're a squad and a club in need of reinvention. Been around for a long time now, Crystal Palace, and there was a brief period, maybe 2.5 years ago, where they built a side and they won, I think, 4-1 away at Leicester. Wilfried Zaha was fantastic, and they built a side that were great on the break and they were winning away games. In this era, everyone's winning away games. It's about what you can do at home. And the home form has been absolutely woeful. The away form has not been much better. They're looking different, unspectacular. And I just don't see they're going to win a great deal of games between now and the end. 29 points now. I'd imagine 37, 38 will be the line for them. Bottom 5, bottom 6. And this one, it's a derby of sorts. I won't get into the stupid reasons why it's a derby, but they call it a derby. But I think because no one cares about Brighton or Crystal Palace apart from Brighton and Crystal Palace. They've created a rivalry for themselves, and good on them. Hope the marketing department enjoy that. Again, draw will be favourite for me here. Low scoring as well. Sadly, to round up our predictions, it's a game that's got 0-0 for me written all over it.
Okay, the draw here pays 3.64. If you fancy that, then Tom, the only thing missing now is your ACCA. Looking forward to hear it.
Yeah, I used to, in the old days, when I used to walk down the bookies on a Saturday morning when I lived in Brighton, think, what away wins can I put on here? How many away wins can I get together in an ACCA to get good value on it? You don't kind of get that now because, as I say, away games aren't really what they used to be. Home games aren't what they used to be. But I'm going to go old school here for 4 away wins. 4 away wins this weekend. You won't get the odds of 2 years ago, but I still think there's some good money to be earned here. It will be Leeds United to win their game at Wolverhampton Wanderers, Chelsea to win against Southampton, Man City to win away from home, and also Leicester to win away from home. So Leeds, Chelsea, City, Leicester, 4 away wins.
Then thank you very much, Tom. A pleasure. You just saw how Tom is fancying a lot of away victories in this match day in the Premier League, but I also want to know your opinion. So let me know what you think in the comment section, and you will have the chance to win a £10 free bet with Novibet. Just write a comment to participate in the draw, and do not forget to click on the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to our channel and click on the bell to get notifications. Also, you can listen to all our videos in our podcast, and next week we are back. We have more Premier League.